Today's lesson is going to be a little bit different because there's been a lot going on the last 2 weeks, and actually literally just today. It's currently Saturday night, which means obviously tomorrow is Sunday when we have to do our lessons and whatnot. And if there was one word I could use to describe the Pack household, we're gassed right now. Meredith 2 weeks ago got that call that we all dread, which is that you need to come home right now because a loved one is in the hospital and it doesn't look great. So she went down that week ago, and she was able to spend the entire week down there and be there with her grandfather, with her mother, as her grandmother, Nana, went in the hospital and eventually on Thursday evening went home to be in glory. And so over the last week, we've been getting ready for all the funerals and all that kind of stuff. And on Friday was the actual funeral service itself. And as I sat here and I listened to the lesson, the eulogy, it was a little bit different than maybe what I think of when I think about Nana. And as I was thinking about what today's lesson was going to be about, I kept thinking, like, I think this is it. I think this is maybe the biggest blessing Nana could give us. When I think about Nana, I think about someone who is a little bit different from what some of the stories were revealing about her. You know, I kind of knew, but didn't totally know that, you know, she had a little bit of a rough past with, you know, some difficult family dynamics in her life, and that she actually showed a tremendous amount of strength through those times, a lot of resiliency to be able to overcome. And, you know, when I heard people describing Nana as being this individual of like strength, I couldn't help but think, like, that's so different than the Nana that I knew ever since 2007, because the Nana I knew I could only describe as a little bit aloof. You see, she was a kindergarten teacher by profession, and I always looked at her and said, I can tell she's a kindergarten teacher because she still kind of seems to, I don't know, approach the whole world as if it's kindergarten. There are two stories that I can recall that I think about fondly when I think about her being a little bit aloof, but like in this very like loving way. One was when she came to visit Meredith at NC State. When she came to visit Meredith, you know, we all got in the car and she was driving. And, you know, Meredith was a freshman and I was going through my junior year. Maybe I should say I was going through perhaps my second junior year, but that's another sermon for another time. And we were driving through campus and we saw this area that was a large area in front of the student center with all these brightly colored crosswalk type things and this massive speed bump, you know, because it was right in front of the student center. You know, there's a lot of foot traffic. We told Nana and said, hey, Nana, you might want to slow down. And she said, yeah, I know. And we said, no, Nana, you might want to slow down. She said, yeah, I know. And she proceeded to take this speed bump in a way that all four tires of that car must have come off of the ground. All these students were staring at this car, and we were both embarrassed and also dying laughing at the same time, to the point that to this day, Meredith and I will still see a speed bump and snicker about Nana just taking that speed bump out. You know, the second story I think of when I think about her being a little bit aloof is actually from when we were getting ready to get married and all those exciting events leading up to, you know, the wedding day. And Nana was so supportive the entire time. And you know that anytime anybody's getting married, you know, groom or bride, whoever, there's always, you know, lots of people in the family who have all kinds of different thoughts and feelings during that time. But Nana never ceased to show support and love and compassion the whole time, to the point that she said, you know what, we need to make certain that you, you know, have your dress for the rehearsal dinner. We need to make certain that you have your bridal gown. And that's all great. And it was awesome until she hit a point that she told Meredith, okay, we need to get in the car again because we need to go out shopping again. Meredith said, why? What do we still need? And that's when Nana said, well, we need to make certain that you have lingerie for your wedding night. Nana, I appreciate you thinking of us, but that might be going a little bit too far. I never thought of Nana as a wingman, but here we are. Nana was a tremendously loving person, but you know, her love wasn't just about herself, and that's a very important distinction. I learned this last weekend about all the different hobbies that she had, that she was an amazing artist, that she sewed a lot of things. I knew that she sewed, but she even had all kinds of things in a cabinet that were like calligraphy sets and whatnot for making invitations for events. And I started noticing that every single thing that she had, that she did, was about serving other people. It was about loving other people. And that is the way that I think about Nana. I don't even think about her aloofness, or I don't think about the, strong Nana that, others talk about. I think about how loving she was. And I think that's critically important for us as Christians to learn from someone like a Nana, these Nanas that we have in our lives, because of what we see Jesus talk about in John 13, 34 through 35. He says, I give you this new commandment, love one another. Just as I have loved you, you are to love one another. By this, others will know that you are my disciple, that you love one another. And this is interesting because there have already been other lessons in the Old Testament even that talk about loving other people. That wasn't a new thing. So what's Christ talking about when he says this is a new commandment? And it really comes down to what the basis of that love truly is. You see, there's a difference between love because it's just kind of feels like the right thing to do, or love because it's the moral thing to do. We want to do the moral thing. We want to be good moral people, or love because that is a form of charity. And so you want to give charity to other people, and so you love them. This love was something different. This love was loving others as I, being Christ, have loved you. This is a selfless love. This is a love that has no boundaries. This is a love that has no conditions. And when I think about Nana, I think about somebody who loved without any kind of condition. Meredith has told me, and some of you will snicker, that sometimes when you first meet me, I can be a little bit prickly. I don't know if I agree, but that's what she says, and others seem to nod their head up and down when she says it. And it's funny that as soon as I became a part of that family unit, Nana loved me. She was compassionate. And I'm not special in that regard. She loved everybody. You could see the testimonies of people popping up out of the woodwork saying, I have so many memories that all have Nana as a core part of them because she just loved so much. And you could tell that she wasn't doing it because she was after reputation, or she was after something in particular, or she was trying to, had some motive of getting people into the family or anything like that. She loved just because that's what she did. It just made sense. And she loved without any of the pesky conditions that so often we will place on our love. And when I think about how Christ loved, that's exactly what Christ did. He loved unconditionally. And when I sit here and I think about Christ loving me, I think about him looking at all of my prickliness, about looking at all of my flaws, looking at, anything about me that others would easily use as some sort of excuse to dismiss their obligation to love another person. Christ looked at that about me and then said, I still love him. Christ looked at you with all your prickliness, with all your flaws, with everything about you that you might think makes you deficient, that others might even look at you and think makes you deficient. And instead, he said, I love you so much that I would die on a cross for you, and I would do it again if I needed to. That is the kind of love that Christ had. And that is the kind of love that Christ turns around and looks at us and says, by this, people will know that you are my disciples, that you love one another. That is an amazingly high calling. And when I look at myself, it is so hard to think about meeting that standard. It's just so easy to not do it. But yet, when I think about how Nana lived her life, I can tell that she had a relationship with Christ, not because she did a bunch of crazy mission trips, and not because she did all the Bible studies, and not because of, any of these other things that she did, even though she did a tremendous amount of things in her church and for her church family. But I can tell that she had a true relationship with Christ because of the selfless way in which she loved. So when I sit here and I think about the legacy of Nana, and I think about the memory of Nana, the way I would want to memorialize Nana is not by just some interesting stories. It's not just by some discrete events in her life, either at the end of her life, the middle of life, or beginning of her life, or anything like that. It's not even by the things that she left behind or anything that she accomplished. The memorial of Nana is the love that she left in the hearts of so many individuals who are now motivated to sit here and show that love to others. And in that way, there's so many individuals who may not even know that they have been touched by the blessings of Christ, because they have been touched by somebody who is known as one of Christ's disciples. Nana is one of Christ's disciples, and now she gets to sit in glory with that same Christ that loves her tremendously. When I think about how I want people to know that I know Christ, I want them to know because of the same things that we read Christ commanding us. I want people to be able to see the type of love that I show and say that clearly can't come from Joseph. That has to be Christ in his life. I hope that one day I can live up to that same reputation that Nana established. And I think all of us could take this as a valuable lesson in our own life. If there's one thing that I can do to honor the memory of Nana, it would be to use her testimony as a way to encourage us all to love deeper, to be more selfless, and to be individuals who realize the blessing that we have in our unity with Christ, a blessing that goes beyond anything that we have in this realm, a blessing that includes grace, that includes salvation, that includes love throughout all eternity, something that Nana is getting to celebrate right now as we speak. That's our lesson that I have for you today. I hope you're able to get something out of it. Until we can meet again, God bless.